Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Just giving it a little bit longer for everybody to join in. I see we have a healthy couple of hundred people. We have had over 600 people sign up, so I just want to give them a couple of minutes so they've got as long as possible to hear the full presentation. So today we're going to be talking about 2023 peak season. For many of us, brought about unprecedented changes, capacity constraints, supply chain disruptions, unpredictable demand. So those factors impacted business across industries, hindered growth. So in this webinar, we're going to be delving into key lessons we learned in 2023 and help equip everyone hopefully with some valuable strategies for navigating the next peak. It won't be long before it's right around the corner. Quick introductions. So these are the speakers that you'll be hearing from today. We'll try and smile more than you see in these pictures. So we're honoured to have EU Director of Transportation, Bharat Varshini, who we'll hand the mic over to shortly, and he can provide his own introduction. We're going to hear from one of our customers. Peru's kindly offered to share some of his time to talk about his business Goofy Buy and their experience at peak. And I'll be supporting the general flow of today's webinar. So my name's Rick. I've been with Amazon now for 14 months, swinging the commercial team, but I've spent over 12 years in the commercial and logistics industry, so hoping anecdotes and insights will help with some life to proceedings. Okay, 1 second. Thank you for the feedback. There, you've seen the comment in the chat now. It's, everybody see the slide with the images on now?
Yes.
Thanks, Marcello. So this is the agenda that we'll be going through. So I'm going to hand the mic to Bharat now for his section, where he's going to go through the key operational challenges that were experienced during peak. Bharat, if you'd like to join me on camera.
Sure, can you see me?
Yep, can see you.
All right. If you could move to the first slide. Welcome everyone, and really appreciate you folks inviting me. I had one session last year as well, so happy to share my views once again with this group. It was really good session last time, some good questions as well, which came after the session. So really happy to be part of this this group and share my views. Just a quick intro. My name is Bharat. I've been with Amazon for almost 10 years now. I used to be in North America, first 5 years, and then last 5 years in Europe, kind of handling the line haul, on-road operations for the organization. The team is spread across different countries and providing services to our carriers, drivers, and warehouse operation teams. I'll cover a little bit about what type of challenges we see usually during the peak season, which is one of the busiest season we have, and how do we make sure that we are providing a reliable and efficient services to our carriers and our partners. So as you know, like the shipping cost has been increasing over a period of time, especially after the pandemic. The whole market and the industry has changed. There is also a capacity crunch, shortage of drivers, shortage of vehicles in the market. We have some issues and challenges in the market and industry for reliability, like from various reasons. It could be like we talked about labor issues, sometimes it's government policies and guidelines, and a lot of other factors. The government also keeps changing their guidelines, so we do a lot of focus on cross-border things, on how things are impacted. I do remember a lot during COVID. There was every government was coming up with their own guideline, and we had to work pretty hard to make sure that our carrier and drivers are compliant. And in peak also, we see once in a while things are changing. Being honest, in November, I remember there was a storm happened in France, south of France and Italy border, and there were different guidelines at that time, and we had to quickly adapt into our operation. So Amazon kind of does a really good job of adapting to these guidelines and kind of make sure that we provide right service to our carriers and partners. So let me go in detail about some of these topics and talk more about how Amazon is kind of leading this in the industry as of now, so that you folks have a little bit more idea. You can move to the next slide. Yeah, so in peak, like I was mentioning, there are a couple of big challenges that we solve or we address as an organization. One is the capacity, and as you know, the Amazon volume increases almost double during peak season, and the busiest days we have a lot of shipments across different countries, a lot of cross-border volume happening, and getting that capacity in the market is not easy. But we as a team has built a really good network across different geographies to make sure that we get enough trailer, we have enough tractors, and we have enough drivers and carrier to provide those services. And we start all these processes like much ahead before peak. So it's not that, hey, in October, November we start focusing on it, but from Q2 onward, we are focusing on our peak capacity so that we have ample time to make sure that we secure it. The second thing is the reliability piece, because we can get a lot of capacity, but if these services are not reliable, and if they don't arrive on time, if they don't depart on time, if they are not shipping packages to the customer at the right quality that we expect, it creates a lot of challenges for us, because it ruins the name of Amazon in the market. And we really want to make sure that whoever we are onboarding and the capacity we are getting in the market, these carriers and drivers are providing a very reliable services to our customers. So we monitor their performance on a regular basis. We have daily monitoring, we have weekly monitoring, we have different criterias to define our carrier base. We categorize them into different categories as gold class, silver class, bronze class, based on how they are performing. And we have a full feedback mechanism with our carrier and drivers to make sure that the right kind of performance is being delivered. And we also have mechanism to take feedback from the carriers and drivers, because we also want to make sure that they have a mechanism to raise their concern, their voice. We can hear them, we can understand where they see challenges, where they see some opportunities, and we as a company and as an organization continue to do better. So yeah, we kind of build a 360-degree mechanism, and both ways feedbacks are happening, which really helps us deliver right services to our customer. Next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Okay. Now, I think I covered a little bit about it before. The volume, especially the inbound, it's huge, and we can sometimes go up to 7x before peaks in our peak season. Like I said, capacity is constrained in the market, but we do a lot of focus on it. At the same time, we also make sure that our warehouse operation and our yards are also matured enough in order to absorb that volume, because we don't want to just bring the volume and not have right space in our yards and our warehouses. We want to make sure that we are balancing it out. So we do a lot of preparation in advance to make sure that our yards are ready for this peak volume, so that when the drivers and the carriers are coming or are entering and bringing these loads, there is no issue in terms of grid locking or in terms of wait times outside the yards, because a lot of time what we have seen in the industry, like there's not enough space and then drivers have to wait outside on the road for some time hours, for some time days. But I think Amazon has done a really good job of building big yards. We also have some offsite yard locations. So in case we have an emergency and the space is not available on the site, then we make sure that the trailers are parked in those offsite yard locations, which are the secured offsite yard locations. So yes, peak season is busy for the industry. A lot of companies you might see face challenges, but we as an Amazon kind of does a good job of making sure that we are connecting end to end and providing right services both on the road as well as in our warehouse yards. Next slide. Yeah, so here we'll talk a little bit about some of the data in terms of how much capacity we go up to, what kind of achievements we have. So you can see on the screen some numbers here. Off peak, we are around 60 to 70,000 loads per week, and you can see it goes up really big on a weekly basis. I remember we have like 110,000 loads on a weekly basis, which is a huge number, you can imagine. And peak is spread over 6 to 7 weeks, so we do like roughly 600,000 loads just in peak season, which is kind of a very, very huge scale. Our on-time arrival, like I mentioned, the reliability piece has been pretty good. Our carrier drivers arrive 96% time on time, and this is just an average number. So there are a lot of geographies where they are also going up to 98, 99%. So it's a pretty reliable performance from them. We have almost 10,000 owned trailers, and then we also have roughly 7,000 active carriers. These are third-party carriers who provide us the services. We obviously are growing a huge in intermodal, which is our rail operation as well as the sea operation. We are launching new lanes. We are connecting different geographies because we believe that intermodal is the future. It really helps fasten the whole process. Sometimes it takes maybe 10 hours for driving a load from the road, but intermodal could be like 5 hours or 6 hours. Or if we follow the sea operation, it could be even sometime faster because we don't have to go across the whole country. So I think there are a lot of benefits of intermodal. So Amazon is consistently investing more and more and making sure that we are improving the speed of our operation and also the reliability of our operation. Next slide. Yeah, so like I was talking, the most important thing for us along with capacity is the reliability, and the way we operate is slightly different from rest of the industry. So like I mentioned, we have really good voice of customer, voice of carrier mechanism. So we are making sure that we are communicating it with our carriers and drivers on a regular basis. And like I mentioned, it's both ways. We provide them feedback and performance related things, and also we collect feedback from them to make sure that we are consistently improving based on their inputs. The second thing is we do a really good job of forecasting our volume and our loads. That how many loads are needed and which geographies are needed at what time they are needed. We have some in-house systems, tools, and technology which really helps us do a good forecasting. At the same time, we also have some technology and mechanism to track the loads when they are on the road. So at high level, we have built relay applications, relay for driver, relay for carriers, and these are like online apps which drivers can download on their phones. They can use it anytime. We, as an Amazon, know exactly where the driver is. If they want to reach out to us, they can just message on the same app. If we have to reach out to them, we can also contact. So I think these mechanism and technology has really helped us track our line haul activities, even when they are on the road, or if any disruption happen, it's easy to contact our carrier and drivers. Feedback, I think I already covered as part of communication, both ways feedback. And then finally, what we also focus on is a lot of how we avoid the disruptions in the network. So as you know, a lot of time, sometime what happen is the carriers are rejecting the loads. Sometimes they do it in advance, sometimes they do it at the last minute for various reasons. Maybe driver shortage, maybe mechanical failure with the vehicle, maybe sometimes sickness issues. So a lot of things can happen, and because of that, the rejections could happen. But what we are focusing a lot is how we avoid it, how we minimize it. And if the rejection needs to happen, how do we make sure that we are proactively aware about it? And if something is happening, then we have a 24/7 operation where we find an alternate option for our carriers and drivers to make sure that we still do that load. Because if we don't do the load, obviously it's a big miss for Amazon as well as for our customer. So the mechanism that we have built, and we make sure that any kind of rejections, cancellations are appropriately taken care of, and we are trying to minimize them at a network level. And like I said, we have a 24/7 team that operates across different geographies, speak in different languages, work across different time zone, so that we are providing 24-hour services in case any disruption happen in the network. Next slide. Yeah, so finally, to conclude, like I mentioned, we work on multiple mechanisms, and we have some key blocks, like I mentioned in the beginning: capacity, reliability. But at the end of the day, the main focus we have as an Amazon is the best delivery experience to our customers. So whether we are shipping product to our customer or whether we are taking an inbound load for a freight partner, we want to make sure that we are reliable service, and we meet the timelines, we are providing them at the right quality, and we give the best experience to our customer on inbound side as well as on outbound side. Because I think these type of experiences really helps us gain the trust of our partners, and once we have the trust, I think it really helps us grow the business and continue to deliver it at the right cost, right quality, and also making sure that we focus a lot on the safety aspect of it. So yeah, I think it's a lot of focus on the delivery experience, which is kind of a building block for us, and we make sure that all activities we are doing for our partners are good for both Amazon as well as for our customers. So yeah, I think that's pretty much from me. I covered some of the aspect of how we handle disruptions, how we handle some of the peak capacity. I'll be happy to take any offline question if you folks have. Please put it in the chime box or the chat box you folks have. I think Rick and team will collect it, and we'll try to answer either towards the end or we reply back through emails to you later on. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Bharat, for the insights. Yeah, as Bharat said, the Q&A is open, so feel free to ask your questions. I already see plenty of people have been taking advantage of that. There's a team in the background. 4 of my colleagues are working through answering those. I can pick up on a couple of them now because I see there's a number of people that have asked about whether that presentation referred directly to Amazon in general or the ATS network or Amazon Freight. So that was about the overall ATS network. We're now going to be moving into specifically Amazon Freight, and a big part of what we do works off of the back of the network that Bharat just spoke about. So there's some synergy there. Okay, so this is specifically now our KPIs, so the things that we've measured ourselves on and how we've done over the last few years, the challenges that we've seen. So on-time delivery being one of our key outputs. We love punctual deliveries, nothing more frustrating than delays, especially in a retail network where that will impact your vendor scores. Very pleased to say that our performance has improved year on year, and that's also whilst balancing the influx of volume. You'll hear me speak a number of times throughout the presentation about the levers that we can pull as a business. So we have over 9,000 fleet of Amazon Prime trailers moving up and down the country or throughout Europe. We also have 13,000 partners that work with us through Amazon Freight Partner and Relay initiatives. Similar to what Bharat had mentioned about his forecasting team, we have our own business intelligence team, and we're always reviewing historic trends or upcoming forecasts, so we can react, pull those levers, and get the right amount of capacity in place to help our customers at the right time. PES is a perfect experience score, is a high bar we set for ourselves as a company. So we're looking for that correlation between customer satisfaction and our KPIs and quality. So there's a number of things that go into what we would class a perfect experience. So your collection is on time, we have 0 push out, and delivery is on time, we get the POD uploaded within 3 days. So there's a lot of things that would have to come together, but we're really striving for perfection with the network. We're not just traditionally looking to collect and deliver on time. So all of these metrics with the volume all improved year on year. specifically 105%. So we've managed to double the business thanks to our customers that supported us, and we're looking to do the same this year. Service levels improved despite that influx in volume as well. So we had a 6% improvement as a percentage value on the level that we were able to provide to our clients. We're also looking at reducing push-outs with a number of initiatives, and I'll go into those specifically in one of the later slides. Push-out, as we would refer to it, so this is where there's a postponement of transport because there's an unavailable time slot at the fulfillment centre. So it's not something that any transport company is immune to, but we have a number of ways that we can navigate that to help our customers. So speaking specifically about challenges, this peak had its own challenges, and we found as we spoke to our customers last year that a number of the issues that we faced were the same for them, and by fixing the challenges within our supply chain, those obviously rippled out to our clients as well. A number of issues that were faced throughout the peak with modern buying demands, so things that were once considered as a USP or as a differentiator for your business isn't really. Like, customers now expect that minimal click order pages, 24/7 customer service availability, a sustainable agenda. Faster is no longer special, it's normal and expected. And we have to navigate these things in our pursuits of customer excellence, making sure that we're supplying the right resources. Whatever your industry is, you'll naturally grow through sales, but we're also seeing market spikes with things such as the geopolitical situation happening at the moment, supply chain constraints. We've had obviously the Red Sea issue causing issues with stock availability. Sudden demand leaps causes certain competitors to struggle and their cost models become open to exposure. We saw just in our industry alone, 463 carriers went bust last year, unfortunately. So having that capacity and reliable options, the scale of that is reducing in the market. It's not unique to transport. Expansion rooms at a premium. So for businesses that are doing well and want to grow, brown belt space in the UK is now oversubscribed for the next 2 years. So businesses are having to contend with a blend of human automation and even looking at possible green belt expansion in order to grow their business and balance out that return on investment. We touched on push outs and that being endemic of the high velocity retail supply chain network, and then operational challenges. How are our businesses facing the challenges of highs and lows of those volume spikes during peak. So some of the solutions that we've put in place that are helping our customers: additional manpower, working with temp agencies, freight partner, and some of those levers that we mentioned before. We promise to cover any load as a business. So if we've committed to do something, we'll do so at the price that it's been booked at, and we'll work to ensure that that is injected into our network. The pull forwards process. So this is where this was a big success story for us, specifically with push outs during 2023. So as soon as we receive a booking, we then have a team that if we do incur a push out, they are proactively looking to pull that forward. So if we have a cancellation, if we have a fixed slot which isn't utilised, or if we can use something like a drop trailer and leave the goods parked safely in the Amazon FC secure yard until they do have the available time on their dock doors to pull that forward and unload the cargo, it will still meet the necessary inbounding PO time because it should be dealt with within 24 hours of arrival of that drop trailer. So through that, we managed to improve 50% of the orders that were pushed out last year. And as a percentage, 6% less push outs year on year with double the volume. So it's an initiative that really helped get those goods in at that critical time of year. Story time now. So just an anecdote about a customer that had some challenges during peak, and it's indicative of the kind of things that we've been able to pull levers on as necessary. So it's a story of loyalty, of heartbreak, of flexibility, quick reactions, of partnership. But spoilers, that there is a happy ending. So a certain to remain nameless books vendor who was in contact with us for quite some time but had remained loyal to their local carrier. In Q4, that carrier was struggling with the volume, they'd started to delay and cancel a lot of shipments, become unresponsive, and actually ultimately declared bankruptcy, unfortunately. So we were contacted to quickly collect all of the stock that was left stored in that 3P's facility and get that moved to a different location, whilst also setting up contract lanes for their regular inbound business. So we pulled all of those levers that I've referred to in the previous slides, and we went from nothing overnight, and then within the 1 quarter of business, we moved 700 full trucks for them and 1,000 groupage pallets. So it's no mean feat, but it shows the kind of high bar that we're able to put in place for customers in a very short amount of time. So we mitigate the risks that can arise from working with carriers who can't scale on demand. We maintain a comparable level of cost for the client as well. We acted quickly to resolve a potential large loss of stock and turn what could have been a turbulent peak to a very smooth peak finish. So quotes that came from that customer and similar like them said that clients have said to us they had no nervousness in peak at all. In fact, it didn't even feel like a peak for them. They were able to tremendously reduce chargebacks year over year, and that they found the service that we offered reliable, effective, and cost efficient. I'm going to hand back to Marcello now for our poll interactive section. I'm hoping everybody can see on the screen now a question regarding top challenges faced in the last peak season. So if everybody could interact with that and vote. Keen to hear some insights from the audience as to how your peak was experienced. Just expanding out the poll box here. Yeah, I see very strong in favour of delivery delays by the looks of this. It's over half the audience so far that's the main issue that they've incurred. Then the next couple, capacity shortages and rising costs. Yeah, interesting. Very few actually reporting labour shortages and tech challenges, so it shows that you've prepared well as a business with what you could control in terms of your staffing and the technology that you put in place for your company. But yeah, still we're over 2/3 of the audience voted, and delivery delays are highlighted as one of the main constraints.
Yeah, Rick, we reached almost all attendees voting, so I would say it's time to show to everyone the responses. I'm going to project those.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, so final results in, it looks like delivery delays are one of the top challenges for companies. So we've spoke about this in brief in the previous slides, and how push outs are an endemic part. There are other things that we'll come to. Actually, I'll try not to spoil too much of what's coming later in the presentation or end up repeating myself. But yeah, there are levers that can help with this, but it is a tumultuous time where the FC network in particular, as we're speaking about retail peak, can be very constrained. Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you all. I will go with a couple of other poll questions.
So prior to seeing this invite, wherever you did see our advert, had you heard about our company before? You may be an existing customer, or you may have been referred to us. Right. Perhaps you just saw this advertised through somewhere like LinkedIn. Overwhelmingly so far, it seems many of you had. That's positive to hear. I recognise some of the names actually in the question chat as I'm looking through, so it's nice to see some familiar faces have shown up for a discussion today.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll project the answer.
Thank you.
And let's go with the last one.
A little about you as a business. What best describes your company? Are you primarily dealing in palletized? Are you also doing full truck, or is it just groupage? Are you actually a freight company looking to for interesting insights into your own network, or are you primarily a parcel shipper? I imagine there's a few on the call that are doing a big mix of each. I would say just go with the one that you feel is the highest end of your volume. So if it's just groupage, go with the top one, or if it's primarily parcels, the bottom one. Just keen to see what kind of mix we had for in the audience today. I suspect many of our parcel partners might actually be walking the floor at retail and supply chain today, where if you have colleagues that are attending, there is an Amazon Freight stand there, along with an SWA stand for our parcel team, shipped with Amazon. So following this, our colleagues will be there until about 4 p.m. tonight, so feel free to direct them to our stand if they have some spare time. I think we've got the majority of the vote in now.
Yep, sharing the results.
So yeah, primarily pallets and full trucks are very relevant to the services that we'll be speaking about today, but our colleagues in shipping or ship with Amazon would also be able to support you with any questions you have about our parcel network as well. I'm going to invite Peru to the camera now. If you could join us and turn on your mic. Oh, thank you. So I'll hand over to you initially, just to provide us with a bit of an introduction to yourself and your company, and then if that's okay with you, we'll have a little conversation about your peak.
Yes. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rakesh, so as well as can be called as Peru as well. I'm one of the directors from Goofy Buy company, which we incorporated in 2012. But there wasn't much of a progress or development on our company until 2020, where we reprofile our products for the customers, where we pitch our products into Far East customers mainly. We started introducing Amazon Freight for our customers, along with on-house fulfillment service and cross-border shipment for Amazon Freight. And roughly around 2023 January, we opened Amazon Freight account, and somewhere around March in 2023, we started shipping our first shipment into Amazon Freight. Along the same month, with the help of the account manager, we set up the dedicated lanes for the fast, high-demand FCs, as well as the oversized FCs, dedicated lanes as well, which help us to have the competitive edge on the market, where we pitch to our customers saying, hey, we got these dedicated lanes, which is very price competitive other than from the competitors. And we are very good here last year, where we had about so far about 450 shipments we've done during with Amazon Freight. And especially during the peak, we had quite a lot of 150 shipments for 1 month, which is roughly around 4 to 5 to 6 shipments per day. With the experience we had over the year, I would like to share our experience, like what was best we got from Amazon Freight. First of all, the booking portal, which is very user-friendly, and we couldn't expect more than that, but we from the portal, because everything is live. You can track your shipment from the time of collection till the time of delivery, and the POD will be will be available as soon as possible. whereas we received within 24 hours most of our PODs available, so which help us to feedback to our customers saying, shipment has been delivered to Amazon, and where we are very happy customers. And obviously, for us, the challenge for the period what we have is obviously once you book a shipment with on the portal, and if you want to do any changes, for an example, if you want to take the some shipments off that booking, obviously we can't amend it. We'll have to delete the shipment fully, and we'll have to rebook that. So that's the only downfall what we see at the portal at the moment. Other than that, it was a very great year with the help of all our account managers and as well as the customer team of Amazon, where they will, if there's any changes or anything like that, they will duly email us or call us and give us update, or this is what's going to happen. So we are prepared for it before any panic hits us. If you, Rick, do you want to describe about the peak as well, how we went through? Or?
Yes, I thank you for that. Like, great detailed intro, great background into how you and Amazon Freight kind of came to be a partner together. I guess picking through that right back at the beginning, I'm interested. How did you first hear about the company? Who put you in touch?
Well, it's one of our customer introduced Amazon Freight, because we were looking to reprofile our company, where we can go. Then we one of our customers, they said, okay, they introduced Amazon Freight. Then we started building on our products to sell to the customers, which is we did loads of less than truckload as well, where the customer, they won't have much load to fill in a trailer. So obviously we pitched both of the products, which is full truckload and less than truckload, which helped us to gain more customer base in Far East.
Well, thank you. And then, yeah, in regards to peak, maybe interesting to the audience. Obviously, we've talked about our service and interaction, but if you had any insights yourself into how your previous peak was before working with us, and then this peak, any insights you can share about what the evolution was like for your business?
Yeah, but because this was our first peak, or first year of experience with Amazon Freight, we were selling a little bit of online products, which is not much. But this year peak, with the help of the account manager, what we did was, before peak, we had a warehouse operational hours from 9 to 5 p.m. So any booking we do, it will be between that hours. Obviously, when it comes to the peak, it's very difficult to get delivery slot very quicker. So what we did was, we expanded our operational hours from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., by which we got more delivery slots within the day, and it was very quick, which helped us to get through more shipments on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And then any insights going forward, like looking ahead to the next peak with what you've learned from next year? Is there anything that you tried this year that you'll be sticking with or doubling down on 2024?
Well, we had some bottlenecks during the peak, like, for example, sudden change of or redirection of shipments, especially for the high demand FCs like BHX4 and LBA4, especially where we book it and suddenly it's been redirected to a different FC, by which one of our customers had about 3 to 4 weeks before it actually went back to the original FC. So there was a bottleneck, which we spoke to our account manager and to resolve how we are going to go forward, probably. As well as, during the peak, obviously, where we have 5 to 6 shipments per day. Sometimes what happens is all the collections will be at the same time. For instance, we had about 4 to 5 collection at 6 a.m. Obviously, we have 2 loading bays. Obviously, that that to get them practically everything all 4 loaded at the same time, and that truck to hit the correct delivery time slot at the FC was a issue, and we had some rejection as well because of that. So obviously we are planning if you can get a delivery slot, scattered throughout the days, depending, rather than the same time. So which will help us this year to avoid that rejections.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate the insights. Thank you. It was very thorough. We're looking forward to working with you again, obviously, for another 12 months, and best of success to your business, Goofy Buy. And I hope that was useful for the people listening in. And if any of you are keen to be in the same seat in the next webinar, feel free to reach out to your account manager. We'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you, Peru.
Thank you.
Going to move on now to talk about some tips, and it's interesting, Peru actually touched on some of these in some of his experience throughout peak. So we appreciate not every peak is the same. Every business has its own, and depending on its sector, you may have the automotive peaks in March and September, or you may have the more traditional peak, as we're referring to it, as Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and that sort of Q4 period of build-up. We spoke about the levers that we can pull, and I very much recommend getting ahead of the curve and planning for large industry spikes. Look at mutual flexibility with your partners in business. Cyber Monday, just as an example, it's a 9.8 billion marketplace. So another challenge for your business, that is up 7% year on year, but when adjusted for inflation, it's flat 2% over 2 years for COVID, since COVID, sorry. So you may have to take tough choices as a business if you've been surviving for a few peaks. So the cyclical nature of products, the way that your products are advertised, you need agile logistics partners. You'll be looking at rotating staff, temps, and so on in order to react. So planning ahead, as it says here, booking a couple of weeks in advance where possible for especially big events like Prime Week will ensure that you can meet that demand. And then things that we do to mitigate late deliveries around what I mentioned before, the pull forwards mechanism. I've seen some questions in chat that are relating to that, like what is an FC and chargebacks. So by that abbreviation, I mean fulfillment centers. Chargebacks with some businesses would be classed as consequential loss. So a traditional freight forwarder wouldn't cover any of those chargebacks. With Amazon Freight, any carrier controllable chargebacks, we cover them as part of our partnership. So you may still incur them. We're working on technology to automate the covering of those, but you are entitled to work with us, claim those back, and we'll cover those costs. So moving on to the market areas that we're covering, and the main thing to highlight here, not to cover off some of the things we've already discussed, but it's regarding Prime Day and Prime Fall deal events. Amazon as a business, despite it being one big company, is many separate floors and teams, and their data is all protected. And even we, as part of Amazon, don't know when these days will come. We have a general good idea, and we can look at where they fell previously. We'll start to notice increases in demand from retail orders and our shippers booking more inbound. But we have to react along with yourselves when these big events come around, and that's where that network flexibility that we spoke about before comes into play. As well as this next slide, where we're looking at the integration, the automation of our process flow. So from you getting your POs, your references through Vendor Central, Seller Central, as you enter those into our portal with a booking, we have an EDI directly into the ISA, the slot booking system. So with some carriers or with some partners where they might ask you to do the booking, or where they do that manually via a telephone, and you're having to wait for that appointment, and maybe your goods are sat waiting in a car park for a slot to be confirmed, or stored in one of their facilities. With us, you'll get an instant response back of the first available appointment. We spoke before about adjusting appointment scheduling with pull forwards and drops. But you'll know exactly when your goods could be at the very latest inbounded into the FC, and we'll be working obviously to improve that throughout the process. Then we're handling everything from the point that you press book through booking to delivery, and then making sure that you've got your receipt and POD So yeah, to wrap up before we move into the Q&A, top tips, if anything that we've discussed for today, these are the key takeaways that I'm hoping will add some value to your business. So booking in advance, planning ahead as much as possible. I see some questions in the chat about frustrations on adding POs and how planning ahead can sometimes cause that constraint if you have the truck. That part of it for us is easy. It's delivering to the FC network where that becomes difficult, because they plan their headcount rotation around the number of POs that they're going to be unloading from trailers by the minute. So if they're expecting 10 POs on a truck from us, then they'll allow time for another 10 from the next truck. If we suddenly want to add in 3 or 4 more, it throws out their whole timing plan for the day. So we're working on adjusting that, but this sort of tech and interface takes time to get that agreement with the FCs, and it's traditionally a very difficult behavior to change. So we feel that frustration. We'll work with you to resolve it, and please make sure you book as early as possible for that frustration-free delivery. As Peru mentioned, considering flexible opening hours, we offer a straight-through service. Our preference is that your goods are collected and delivered without delay, so that they're not sitting in a car park or sitting on a roadside and exposed to potential risk. So rather than collect it and hold it and wait for a slot, we'll book that slot immediately and plan the collection and delivery to happen same day. Your opening hours as a business and the opening hours of the fulfillment center, those will be considered with the amount of time it takes to transport from one to the other. So if you can extend your opening hours to match what the FC offer, it offers you a lot more possibility for inbound delivery, because you'll be able to have some of those more readily available late night slots at the FC. If you are considering that a particular time that you've been offered or a day is something you might want to cancel, please do call first before you do that. It might have an impact on the network. We might have just found you a pull forward. So it's always worth speaking to your account manager first before you do that. There are teams working in the background day in, day out in order to improve that. And as I mentioned, we were able to improve 50% of all delayed orders just this year alone. And it's something we're looking to scale in 2024. And then the chargebacks element, I touched on that. That can be as much as 5% of the value of your goods. So when you're considering a haulier, consider if they're not covering that the difference of a few pounds on freight can actually be instantly lost if you incur just one chargeback at any point during the trading year. So do look to work with a partner that can offer you that robust logistics service and help you on in those occasions where issues arise. Right, so moving into the Q&A, I see my colleagues have been very busy in the background answering some of these questions. So I'm going to filter through now and pick out some of the ones that have been flagged here. So Jonah, I see that you're interested with a number of people actually about whether we're going to be offering anything other than full truck in Germany. Pleased to report that is changing soon. So if you are interested in moving groupage in Germany, recommend clicking on the QR code that will come up after this this section. In fact, I can put it up now. Registering your interest, and one of our account managers can speak with you and prepare for when that service goes live later this year. So that is unlocking in LTL in Germany. I see the question regarding chargebacks. I hope, Catherine, that I was able to answer that for you. That is something we cover where it's carrier controllable. Andrea has asked a question regarding confirmation of full load requests. Their goods are hand-picked in the warehouse and ready. Okay, so this is relating to our straight-through model, I think. Yeah, so where some businesses might look to collect from you and hold the goods in their warehouse until they get a slot at the FC and then deliver it, we're instead looking for the first available slot the FC can offer us, so that your goods are receipted, inbounded and paid for in the fastest possible manner with the minimum possible risk of being at roadside. So I understand that process may be a little different to the way that other carriers do it, but hopefully for you as a business, you see it as a benefit, because it means that your goods are on the website advertised, being sold, and you're being paid for them quicker. Whilst it might mean they do have to dwell in your facility where they are that little bit safer for an extra day or two. Looking through here, I see a question from Angela about booking an appointment. You book a date and hour slot as well. So this will depend. You can book time slots for collection at your facilities, and if you are doing off Amazon deliveries, because we do full truck transport to other facilities as well, business to business, not just to Amazon. If they have a time slot that we need to work to, then yes, please enter that into the booking and do provide us with details for the driver to say that the delivery slot is at 4 p.m. We'll calculate the journey time in between and plan the collection accordingly. If it's an Amazon fulfillment center delivery, then no, you don't need to book the slots. You just need to provide us with the Amazon references and we'll take care of all of the booking for you. Ines interested in whether Amazon Freight is good for vendor and seller accounts. Yes, yeah, same website, same login. You would just provide us with slightly different references depending on whether it's an FBA reference or a PO, for example. And then the last question here about interest in moving from UK to DE from Michael. Yes, so we offer intermodal services now. So we're leaning on our sea freight network, which is 67% more carbon efficient than traditional truck transport via the Eurotunnel. You'll find it comparable for transit time, and you can reach out to one of our account managers to speak about any loads that you would like to do, either intermodal crossing the Channel Tunnel or the Channel border, or even intermodal within Europe. We do some long distance rail lanes as well. So if you have interest in speaking to us about that, please feel free. Cool. I think as I'm skimming through, we're pretty much there and through the presentation. So I hope this was valuable for everyone. Leave this open for any other additional questions we have coming through. See one here about expansion into other territories. Yeah, well, it's something we're always considering. We have a rest of Europe expansion team that we soft launched in an additional 2 countries this year in Central Europe. But based on the feedback of our customers, we're following the Amazon model. So anything Amazon does is always from customer first. So the more interest that we get from clients with us doing that, then that data will be shared with our superiors, and we'll look at then expanding the network to support businesses in different parts of the world, definitely. Question from Isabel about if Amazon providers are booking outside of the delivery window, is admin to get this extended? Is that necessary? Do we have visibility of the booking time? I think it would depend on the circumstances for this and if it's full or less than truckload. But this may relate to carrier controllable chargebacks. If it's late whilst in our care, then and that does become a charge that you incur, then it's something that we can support with. If it's relating to full trucks and peak delays, then this is something that we would work with the pull forwards mechanism and support with the fulfillment centers, the redirections that were mentioned by Peru. That's another lever that we can now pull that we trialed during this peak and found it very successful. So we can request a redirect to a different FC that's a part of the same network and inbound your goods there, but it can be unloaded and confirmed as being within the Amazon network for sale. So where Peru had mentioned redirects that had to then be directed back to the original FC and caused a big delay with having your stock available for sale, that wouldn't happen in this instance. I'll pick one last question here to cover, which is from Joanne regarding parcels. Again, depends on the scale. So we have a separate team, Amazon Shipping, or SWA as it's known for short, that deal with parcel deliveries, business to business. If it's inbound to an FC, it could be something that could go through our network, and it depends on the volume. If you can palletize that, we could move it through our LTL or groupage service. If it's a full truck's worth, there are some FCs now that we're able to deliver to as loose loads. So that might be something we can talk about. And again, recommend scanning the QR or going to the website that you see listed. And one of our team can talk you through the various different options. I see one more flag from here. What benefit do you offer versus booking through cart? We often get pull forwards that we can't meet with postponements to this model or extra support offered. So that's from Natasha. Benefits of booking through cart. I mean, it's the instant nature of it. So for one, as we're booking a shipment, it's automatically confirmed via EDI. So we would get the first available appointment from when you book transport. So there's a small time saving there that could be the difference between getting an earlier or later slot. We do have access as a business to some fixed slots that we utilize for regular flows. So if it's something that happens on a regular basis, it might be that we can include your goods in that program if they're on a fixed, regularly moving lane. And it also puts us in control of being able to redirect those goods to one of the other FCs, as I've mentioned. So that might provide us with another opportunity to improve the transit time. I know some businesses would prefer to do that themselves, but I think with the time saving, the convenience, and the fact that we have multiple options that would allow us to deliver that faster for you, get those goods available to sell quicker, I would hope that would provide you with some value as a company to improve your inbounding speeds. Brilliant. So I think we're at time there. If there are any questions that I have missed or that we didn't get the time to get to, I see my colleagues are typing away to some of the Q&As directly in the background. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. I see the audience is thinning out a little bit now, so I appreciate everybody that came along to listen today. Hope this was useful. We'll be offering similar events, and we're also going to be live at a couple of trade shows coming up this year. We have a stand in June at Multimodal, and there'll be a similar one of these coming up soon, primarily in the German marketplace, but you'll find similar insights there. So look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you for those that came along and listened.